I was out to dinner with a friend of mine, and we were having a conversation about him becoming a manager in my current group. And he was, dude, I just totally don't want to do it. And like, I'm not going to be doing anything. I'm just going to be like a manager from now on. It was one of those moments where you blurt something out and you didn't realize you thought it until you said it. And I said out loud without consciously thinking about it, I said, come on, man, like, this is an amazing opportunity. It's your job to protect this incredibly fragile bacteriological colony inside this body called Intel. And if you let Intel have its way with it, Intel will kill it. But if you don't, then just like in a human body, the flora and fauna in our gut, right, it benefits the body, right? It works out well. I realized at that moment that was sort of how I think about building these things. So plucky rebels being agile in an un-agile place. What is pluckiness? So pluckiness is a combination of determination, but it is not grim. Nobody wants to follow the guy who says, let's all die going up that hill, right? It is also cheerful, but nobody wants to follow somebody who is purely cheerful, because purely cheerful is, oh, well, I don't really care, I'm not going to keep trying. So pluckiness is a combination of cheerful and determined. Why rebels? Well, if Intel already knew how to do the thing that you're thinking about trying to do inside Intel, then Intel would have a P&L, and there'd be a ZBB and a POR, and you'd be on a roadmap, and you wouldn't be a startup, and it'd be a multi-billion-dollar business, and like, that's not a startup. So a little bit of insurrection is good for the soul. So that's why rebels. And another point, how much agile is the right amount? There are probably people in this room who know more about agile than I do. I am, there's scrums and sprints, and the right amount of agile is right up to the body rejecting the bacteria. Everything up until there is you want as much as you can possibly make fit, but you need a veneer. You need a veneer of predictability. Intel's going to want to see quarterly things. Maybe you're going to have finance help you do an NPV. So how do you do this? Rule number one, be right about the future. How can you be right about the future? The best way to do that is to create the future, because if you create it, then you get it right. I've gotten this wrong in my career. In the mid-90s, I was working in the Windows operating system group, and it was my responsibility to figure out what the right strategy was for CDR. If anybody remembers recordable, write once CD media. And we were thinking, should we put this in the Windows operating system or not? And we thought, oh yeah, the general consensus was, users don't understand write once, the operating system can't do write once, we're going to exhaust the media, if we do backups or autosaves in Word documents, it's all not going to work. So the net result of that was we chose not to make a future in which you could easily manage rewritable or write once media. And if anybody remembers how much of a pain it was in 2000, 5 years after we ran into this problem, to actually put anything on a CD, it's because in 1995 we didn't decide to make a future in which it would be easy in 2000. So I will take credit for having screwed that up. I've gotten this right in my career. I'll talk about BitLocker in a second. But even if you're wrong, deciding you're going to make a future can actually create profound impact. There was a guy named Jack. He was writing software to help people type in messages on a computer in order to send an SMS message to a taxi cab to do a dispatch system in New York City. The contract failed. The technology couldn't ship. Have you ever used Twitter? Because that was Twitter. So even if you're wrong about the future you're creating, if you've got forward momentum, that can really help. So that's sort of this notion of leading from the front. Keep it secret, keep it safe. From Gandalf, one of my favorite wise men. There are lots of people inside large companies who want to help you. They are very well-meaning. Their heart is in the right place. It is just that some kinds of help are the kinds of help we all could do without. They are going to want you to give them a 10-year NPV. They're going to want to show a 31% return on the investment from start to finish. They're going to want you to be able to explain exactly what it is that you're going to be doing to take advantage of a hardware feature that doesn't ship for 2 years. Don't be afraid to go dark for a while. When you're doing a startup, you're super proud, and this is one difference between doing a startup in a big company and a small company, and I've done both. When you're in a small company, you're starved for attention. You will tell absolutely anybody about what you're doing. In a big company, there's a lot to be said for going dark until you have something to show. We have this philosophy, shipping software beats PowerPoint. don't explain what it's going to do. As soon as you come out of being dark, hand it to someone. Then you don't have to explain what it's going to do. They can hold it. They can see it. They can feel it. They interact with it. They know what it does. They may ask, why did you build this? You say, well, because it's really awesome. But modern software is all about people wanting a return right here, right now. It's one of the things that services are really profoundly changing the way we do software. So keep it secret, keep it safe, and then when it's time to talk about it, have something to show. Don't rely on PowerPoint to tell your story. Always cheat, always win. Another wise man, Clint Smith. But Peter, it says right here on my badge, Intel Code of Conduct, that's dishonorable cheating. It's your job as the leader of a startup in a big company or a small company to make things unfair on behalf of your people. It is your job to optimize the system so that you get greater returns than everybody else. That's your job. So a little bit of optimizing is a very good thing. This is kind of like the bacteria analogy again, right? You got to carve out enough space for that bacteria to actually do its job, digest food, right? If the bacteria is gone, you can't digest it anymore. But if it's too successful and it exits the body and comes back in somewhere else, it kills you. So you want to contain that, but at the same time, let it do its job. We do this, one cheating thing we do, we like to make up names. So people can assume they know what you're doing when you say cloud services. But if you say affiliated services, they have absolutely no idea what you're talking about. Which means you get to explain it. And it means that, especially in a large company, you're not inheriting the debt of a defined term when you try to talk about it. Because people, oh, I totally know what cloud services are. We tried those 3 years ago. Don't you remember insert name here, right? Well, but these are affiliated services. They're totally different. It's cheating. They're exactly the same. But it's very effective, so I recommend that. So you do this to help you, and this is my #1 rule. If you forget everything else about anything I've said, find some users and make them happy. There will be projects in the future where you see the most profoundly awesome graph that says if we do these 19 things, we will have a $1.7 billion business in the next 5 years. You can always do that, right? There's always a way to take data and help support a business unless it's truly catastrophically bad, in which case, yeah, you shouldn't do it. But if you have people who are happy with what you've done, if you have found some users and you have made them happy, you have got a superpower, right? I mean, you have something now where you can be like, but Bob likes it. Bob wants more. Bob told me he wants the next 19 features. Yeah, but Bob wants 19 more features. Like, it becomes this incredibly compelling conversation if you have some users and you've made them happy. And just the act of going out and finding people and deciding, I want to make some people happy today, first of all, it's kind of nice from a societal perspective, but also it's you're going straight to solving the problem. An example, BitLocker, in roughly 2001, I was having a conversation with a security officer from a bank, and he said, we lose, on average, 1 laptop in a New York City taxi cab every day. A while later, I'd like to say it was like ka-ching, like this lightning bolt where I took, oh, inspiration, genius. Probably like a year later, it suddenly dawned on me. There was an entire office in that company, and their only job is to deal with the misery of a lost laptop in New York City. That's all they do. Nobody ever told me that, but you have to have those people. There have to be people who are like, okay, let me get this straight. It was the EVP of mergers and acquisitions. Was the hard drive encrypted? Where did it go? I mean, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. Like, do we have to call the Wall Street Journal? Do we need to get the analysts in? It's a nightmare. So we decided, let's build a product that is exclusively dedicated to making those people happy. We're going to build a product that makes risk managers and incident response teams inside large corporations happier about having to deal with lost and stolen laptops. The product of that was BitLocker. Last I knew, it was over $500 million revenue line, but it was exclusive. Like, we did not think about IT workers. We did not think about the IT department. Like, we just said, all we want to do is say that those people go from 7 hours of sleep a night to 8 hours of sleep, and we're successful. And it was a huge success from my perspective. So, make an attractive corpse. All right, so we're planning to fail. No, we are not planning to fail. You should never plan to fail. But here's the thing. Projects get canceled. The world changes. Companies change. This happens in big companies. This happens in small companies. You never know when the music is going to stop. So this is a thing that Agile can really help with, because the cadence of Agile and the Agile process delivers more frequent releases of smaller things. That's more little victories. The more little victories you can have, the more likely it is that if you do, God forbid, wind up being a corpse, you're an attractive corpse, because you have given the people who were with you on this journey a better resume, an opportunity for the next job, a thing they can hold. Imagine you're on a 3-year project and it gets canceled at year 2. It's just words. You can't even show it to somebody. You can't brag. You can't be proud. You're not helping the people who helped you tell your story tell their story. So make an attractive corpse. Okay, so what are the rules? My rules for startups and large companies. Be right about the future. The best way to do that is to create the future. Second is keep it secret, keep it safe. And do that up until it's time to actually show stuff that really works. Always cheat, always win. Find some users and make them happy. That's the most important one. And make an attractive corpse. So last story. I was on a phone call, one of these Intel phone calls. And by the way, nobody but Intel has calls with 100 people on them, ever. Sometimes 6 hours long. And I'm on the call, and somebody is explaining, no, we really need to do this because developers are going to love this. And I just wasn't getting it. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm not, my friends are, no. No. I don't understand how doing this is going to help my friends, my friends, take a better vacation, buy a better car, get braces for their kids. Like, how is it going to do that? And I finally, I interrupted, and I said, so if this is that good, are you going to quit Intel and do it as a startup? Is it that compelling? And there was deadly silence on the call. And finally, after about 10 seconds, the answer was, but I need health insurance. Yeah, whereas the ISV you're pitching to adopt the technology does not. Which leads me to the last sort of point. It's really important to be passionate about what you do if you're going to do a startup in a big company. There are better ways and worse ways to go about doing it, but you got to be committed, right? You got to be so committed that you at least are willing to ponder the thought that you would walk out the door and do it on your own if Intel is, for some reason, colossally stupid about making a decision to back it. I'm not suggesting that that's what you do, because I don't want to see an exodus out the door right now. But you got to be committed and you got to be passionate. Thank you.